Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another video. Today we're taking a look at the IQUNIX OG80 mechanical keyboard, which has become my current daily driver for both work and gaming. I've had the opportunity to use this keyboard for about 3 weeks now, so I've gotten a pretty good idea of how it functions, feels, and performs. This specific model of the OG80 is called the Black Tangerine, and as of the making of this video, it currently retails for $179 US. Let's dive into the video, starting of course with the all-important sound test. The IQUNIX OG80 is a compact keyboard with an 80% layout and 83 keys. It features PBT keycaps and has a PC frame. Depending on the specific model, it uses either TTC or cherry switches, both with a north-facing orientation and a lifespan of 100 million keystrokes. The larger keys use CoStar stabilizers, and the overall keyboard has a cherry keycap profile. Notably, the PCB is hot swappable, and the OG80 has full N-key rollover. The OG80 has a 4000 mAh battery capacity, and IQUNIX claims that it can last up to 3000 hours with RGB disabled. It connects via Bluetooth 5.1, 2.4 GHz, or USB Type-C, and has a polling rate of 1000 Hz for the wired and 2.4 GHz connections, and 125 Hz for Bluetooth. It has a 1 millisecond response time when wired, or using the 2.4 GHz connection, and 8 milliseconds when using Bluetooth. The OG80 works with Windows, macOS, iOS, and Android, but Windows 7 or previous versions only support the 2.4 GHz connection. All of this is packed into a lightweight keyboard weighing approximately 1140 grams, with dimensions of 346 by 151 by 44 millimeters. The OG80 features 4 different switch options, including Gold Pink, Speed Silver, Holy Panda, or Cherry Brown, all factory lubed. I purchased mine with the Gold Pink switches, which are lightweight, linear switches with an actuation force of 37 grams. The Gold Pink and Speed Silver switches are linear switches, while the Holy Panda and Cherry Brown switches are tactile. The keyboard is available in non-RGB and RGB options, with about a $15 to $20 difference between the two. Unfortunately, there is no option to change the stabs, as they come with CoStar stabs. Included in the box is the keyboard manual, a nifty keycap and switch puller, a good quality braided USB-C to USB-A cable, a retractable brush to keep your keyboard clean, a storage unit for the dongle, Mac supplementary keycaps, and the 2.4 GHz dongle, which is inside the keyboard. In particular, I really appreciate the inclusion of the brush, and I'm not sure why more keyboard manufacturers don't include one. One of the first things that attracted me to this keyboard is the overall design. The OG80 series of keyboards have a great retro look with a slanted F key row and a grille design on the front. I do love the way the wireless dongle is hidden on the top left in a little compartment, which is a cool idea, and the OG80 IQUNIX logo is on the top right. The bottom of the keyboard is see-through and has the IQUNIX logo at the bottom, with the option to change the keyboard from wired to wireless mode. Internally, as mentioned, it has a hot swappable PCB and supports 5-pin switches, so this is great if you want to easily switch out your switches later without having to do any sort of soldering. Power-wise, its 4000 mAh battery charges via USB-C. The OG80 has an LED indicator on the top left that shows different statuses, including yellow for charging, green for charging completion in wired or wireless mode, pink for 2.4 GHz mode, white for caps lock, and other statuses for Bluetooth and 2.4 GHz mode reconnecting. There are various function keys for controlling RGB lighting, opening applications like web browsers and calculators, adjusting volume and track selection, and checking battery life. Of course, with the OG80 being an 80% keyboard layout, IQUNIX had to be a little creative with how to map different functions, but you do eventually get used to it if you're moving to an 80% layout from a standard 104 key layout. Now this keyboard in my opinion offers a really good typing experience. As I mentioned, I picked mine up with the gold pink switches. Now specifically talking as a software engineer, this keyboard is really easy to type on for extended periods of time. The OG80's overall build and design is impressive. Now, while this isn't as sturdy as the last keyboard that I reviewed in the Angry Meow Compact Touch, it's still a really premium feeling keyboard and it sits firmly on my desk. I particularly enjoy the slanted F key row design, and on the Black Tangerine specifically, I really like the tangerine colored escape, spacebar, and enter keys. Now, the Black Tangerine specifically is a little tame actually in comparison to some of IQUNIX's other OG80 keyboard designs, but personally I really love this as it fits my setup pretty well. In addition to the great typing experience, as I touched on, this keyboard has the Bluetooth and wireless 2.4 GHz mode, so that's really cool, on top of the hot swappable PCB, so you can easily change out the switches later on if you want to. That 2.4 GHz mode with the wireless dongle is really awesome as it's great for gaming, so I really appreciate that. It has, as I mentioned, that neat little compartment, hiding spot if you will, for that wireless 2.4 GHz dongle. There are the several RGB modes to choose from, ranging from the all-important RGB wave to some of the more reactive options. Though it's nothing extraordinary, it's still a really nice feature. After a lot of thought, I could only come up with a few things that I don't really like about this keyboard. Firstly, the keycaps aren't transparent, so that reduces the amount of RGB that shines through. Second, and I'm really nitpicking now, the LED status indicator can be a little confusing. It has, of course, the predictable light colors like red for low battery and green for charging finished, etc. But some of the options are a bit random, like pink and turquoise, which I can't even remember off the top of my head right now, but in order to keep these in your mind, you're gonna have to read and perhaps reread the manual a few times just to remember what some of the other color statuses are. And lastly, the battery gets drained pretty hard when you leave RGB on in wireless mode. The difference between RGB on and RGB off in wireless mode when it comes to the battery of this keyboard seems to be pretty huge. When you leave it on the whole time, I actually experienced a full charge all the way down to about 50% in a day, whereas IQUNIX claims again that this keyboard can last for about 3,000 hours with the RGB off. So that's a pretty big discrepancy, at least from what I experienced with it. So as you might have noticed, I really like this keyboard. I love its retro style design, its smooth typing experience, and its overall build quality. This keyboard for wireless has both the Bluetooth and the 2.4 GHz modes, so you have options on which one you want to use depending on what you're doing. And additionally, if you pick up the RGB version of this keyboard, which I personally think you should, it's not a huge price increase, there are several RGB options to choose from. The only major downsides that I could really come up with is the battery life with RGB on all the time in wireless mode, and the somewhat confusing LED indicator. However, these things are very minor in comparison to the keyboard's overall strengths. So yeah, overall, I do recommend the OG80. I know the design, specifically maybe the Black Tangerine, might not be everyone's cup of tea, but IQUNIX offers so many different keyboard layouts and designs, so there's generally going to be something for everyone. That's about all I have for this one, guys. If you like this video, please remember to hit that like button, and please consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon. It really helps me out in growing this channel. If you're interested in following me more on the regular, you can do so over on Instagram at 2ByteThomas. I've got more tech, desk setup, and gaming content planned as usual, so please stay tuned for that. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.